is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now, here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied naturally and automatically by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace, peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government, which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free world.
Welcome, fellow digital soldiers, to True Reporting. It is the 21st of May, and on today's podcast, we will be going over an article from TheVerge.com entitled, "The U.S. Marine Corps has formed an auxiliary volunteer cybersecurity force." We all know that there's a lot more to this Q research that meets the eye, and we all know that these three-letter agencies are so far corrupted that they need to get true patriots in there. I'm talking operators, autists, you name it. Weeks ago, I went over a lot of memes that were foreshadowing to this very article, and I wanted to bring it full circle for you. But before we go any further, will you please welcome my new sponsor, Virtual Shield VPN. Hi friends, do you like having the peace of mind knowing that your IP address is safeguarded from hackers and people trying to steal your information? I do too, and that's why I use Virtual Shield VPN. For the month of May, Virtual Shield is offering a 30-day free trial as a Memorial Day special. So go ahead and find out what the hype is all about by clicking on the link below. Thank you. Alright guys, it's good to have you aboard. Let's go ahead and hop into it. This is True Reporting. So as I said before, I found a lot of these posts on 8chan almost over maybe 2 months ago, and I found an article that came out May 16th of this year, and it brings all of this full circle. I really believe that they are trying to find operators to take over these three-letter agencies and keep them secure. So, getting started, Q research is far more than it seems. When this started, Q stated that this would be the largest information dump in history. Additionally, that America would need people like us who know and understand the truth to help the normies accept it. Those are definitely true, but only a small part of our purpose. Even we Anons don't know how special, how revolutionary, and how important Q research is to our future and to our country. I'm going to share some part of the ideas I've had on the subject, and I'd love to start with some discussion. The Last Starfighter. Many of us wondered about the references to the last starfighter that Q has made a number of times. We got the obvious meaning of Death Blossom pretty quickly, but I think it goes much deeper than that. Ask yourselves these questions. Once we win back the country, how do we keep the evil out? How can you quickly replace the large number of corrupt intelligence agents that were let go? Where do you find those replacements, especially qualified pre-trained ones? Now consider what a large number of us Anons have in common. We come from a technical background. Most of us probably have a strong distrust of the government for decades and have become anti-establishment. We love the idea that America was founded on, but the system always seemed rigged to us. We are people who are driven by truth. Now consider that we possess the skills that are basically ideal for an intelligence agent. Yet we were quite literally the least likely to ever consider working for the government. Yet here we are. Pew Research was a brilliant strategy to bring us back into the fold when our country needs us the most. It started with the divulging truth. This is the currency that we care about, not words, not money, truth. The facts and hints that Q dropped lead us to learn verifiable facts that we dug up for ourselves. Over time, we learned that Q, whoever he is legit, is honorable, is working for Trump, and honestly wants to save the United States. We slowly began to believe that maybe things under Trump might truly be different and righteous. Maybe the good guys could actually run this country. To summarize, Q Research is quite possibly the most brilliant, involved, all-encompassing, accurately targeted, and largest scale candidate search and job interview that has ever been done. Again, my friends, this is what will bring to full circle the article I'm about to read to you. What we've been doing is being both tested and trained. Q has been looking for us, the last starfighters, who will fill those intelligence ranks in the coming years. And what better way to find us and test us than Q Research? And what better way to train us than from all the digs? We will be immune system that helps protect America from the cabal or others like them from here on out. Q Research is far more than it seems, part 2. In part 1, I detail why I believe one of the major goals of Q Research is to find and train Anons who will soon be part of the U.S. intelligence service. Obviously, that isn't for everyone here, but Q told us that there would be a place for us in the future, so there will be more options than just intelligence. You are the news now. Q has said that in many of his drops, most of us assumed it simply meant that QAnon was gaining more and more news coverage, but I think it's much deeper than that. We all know that our news is corrupt and needs to be replaced, but if we look at how we got to the point that 6 corporations and their special interests control the news, it's obvious that simply dismantling what we now have isn't sufficient. That central question becomes, how do you keep it from being controlled by special interests? News is a number of layers, but the core is investigative research. On top of that, you have writers, reporters, and many other layers, but that core research is the foundational collection of facts and information that will be written about by the upper layers. How do you keep that research and the inclusion of those facts from being controlled by corporations and special interests? You make your researchers completely anonymous. You can't bribe, buy, or control someone if you don't know a username they go by. We are being molded into that core investigative research. We will compose the facts and information that will be used by news writers around America. Think of it as a replacement for the Associated Press. We will produce a daily stream of news articles that are freely available for anyone who wants to read them. News agencies will use those stories, but they will know that if they change the facts, people will know. There will be a watchdog agency that ingests the news and compare it to the articles we write and will notify the public when reports are starting to be molested and taking facts to fit a narrative. So how do you pay a large anonymous group of news investigators? Simple. We're all pretty sure that Q Research is run by a 3-letter agency. They know who we are. They have our IPs. I know all about that. They do have our IPs. They know all about us. There is a much deeper reason that you can't post here via Tor, that the simple, it would fill the board with child porn. If they know who you are, contacting you and paying you won't be an issue. In the meantime, this medium that we use to collaborate makes us absolutely anonymous to anyone not in that agency. We can't be bribed, we can't be bought, we can't be silenced. The U.S. government is testing a new model of investigation and news reporting that Trump will likely implement in the coming years. News written by people who care only about the truth, this board or something like it, is the core of that model. Q Research is the beginning of a decentralized news research agency that can't be bought, bribed, or controlled. I don't have proof of this, of course, but it fits the facts that we have. How would you guys like to keep doing what we've been doing for every day, as long as you'd like, and get paid for it? Not a bad deal. So guys, let's take this a step further and bring us up to today's news. The U.S. Marine Corps has formed an auxiliary volunteer cybersecurity force. Volunteer. U.S. Marine Corps Commandant General Robert Neller told a secret security forum back in April that the Marines would soon launch a volunteer cybersecurity auxiliary unit. Earlier this week, the Marines announced the establishment of that unit, called the Marine Corps Cyber Auxiliary, which it says will help increase Marine Corps cyberspace readiness. My friends, off the record, they are looking for operators, and I believe they found them. Using our IP addresses, we are not the only ones on that Q board. I've reiterated that time and time again. The deep state is on that Q board. White hats are on that Q board. Anons are on that Q board. Everyone who is under the umbrella is on that board. So what we need to figure out is, are they looking for autists? Are they looking to actually implement weaponized autism? If you don't know what that word means, you need to really look into it, because it is definitely a key word. Continuing on. In April's Future Security Forum 2019, Neller noted that the members of the auxiliary wouldn't be permitted to wear the coveted eagle globe or anchor emblem of the Corps, which is something a Marine earns by going through basic training or officer candidate school. He noted that they wouldn't have to adhere to the Marine Corps strict standards, joking that the auxiliary would take anyone, even professionals with purple hair. Volunteers won't have to wear a uniform or adhere to the Corps' grooming or physical standards. The announcement says that members of the Cyber Aux will assist in simulated environments and during periods of instruction, but are not authorized to execute hands-on cyber activities. In other words, they are not going to take part in any real-world incidents that the Marines might end up facing in the digital world. Neller tells military.com that members of the News Force will come in and offer their assistance, expertise, and knowledge to the uniform side. He says the Corps hasn't figured out how big the force will be just yet, but he explained the U.S. citizens who can get a security clearance would be a good fit for it. Which basically means is if you don't have any felonies or anything like that, you're not a spy or someone who could cause detriment to this country, you probably could get in, especially if you're extremely tech savvy, like someone on 8chan would be. In recent years, the U.S. military has found it difficult to retain skilled cybersecurity professionals because many can often find better opportunities in the private sector. The purpose of the auxiliary is to supplement the Corps' cybersecurity expertise with civilians and veterans at the time when digital threats from foreign adversaries are on the rise. Right. Last year, New American Foundation fellows Natasha Cohen and Peter W. Singer wrote an op-ed in the Defense One and a white paper, arguing for the creation of such an organization, noting that the military currently doesn't have sufficient personnel to meet the demand for challenges they face. The duo suggested that such a need could be met with a unit like the Civil Air Patrol and Coast Guard Auxiliary, which operate in a supporting role for their respective parent military branches. So guys, what this tells me is that they are looking for operators, and I think that this is kind of like the first thing that they're going to try and implement, which is really awesome. I think that Trump is looking. He does have people looking for researchers on 8chan, YouTubers, people who are very big on Twitter. I think it encompasses it all. So put in your definite application, because you could be hired here soon, my friends. Again, I wanted to tie all this in together. Those posts from 8chan were from months ago. Now we're starting to see some validity to that, which is amazing. My friends, if you found this informative and you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter @TrueReporting, and don't forget to leave a like. You donate to this channel by going to my PayPal or Patreon in the description box below. My friends, please be kind and loving to one another, as that can get us so far on this planet. I will talk to you very soon. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.